I think the key ingredient in that is think completely differently. Whatever you do, that is why sometimes people wonder as to how we have got so much money. They sort of try to credit this to that source or this source or whatever, and to the point sometimes they say this must be some drug money or something like that. We make so much money by being different in this industry of advertising. I can charge anything that I want. If I have a good idea from a client, I have to go and tell a client I have a super idea. This idea is something that nobody has ever thought of. So then a client has no choice but buy my idea. I make super profit. So that super wealth or super profit comes when your proposition is completely new, innovative.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Conversations with me, Alanki. Today I will be in conversation with a well-known entrepreneur who founded an advertising agency, Triad Advertising. He is also the chairman of George Steuart and Company and Derana, one of Sri Lanka's largest and most successful media networks. Today I'm in conversation with none other than Dilith Jayaweera. Thank you so much for having this conversation. In 2011, you were named by the LMD magazine as one of the top 10 business people of the year. And in 2018, the LMD magazine featured you in their A list. Tell all of us, how did you accomplish so much so soon?
Yeah, it's actually not so soon and not so much also in my mind. When I first became an entrepreneur, when I felt like that there is some entrepreneurship in my system, I was, I think, in A-level classes, like. So I was, doing a part-time insurance agency through a friend of mine's insurance unit. So that was a beginning of actually how I felt that there was something else that I would always wanted to do. Of course, since my parents wanted me to be a lawyer, then of course I had to pursue that to in fact make them happy. Then even when I was in the university, or even before, during the period the universities were closed for the due to this JVP insurgency, I gave tuition. Then I worked full time at a pharmacy called IC Drugs in Bambalapitiya. Then while working there, I was running a small pharmaceutical distribution, a very small one. And then I parallelly ran that my insurance agency.
You were an all-rounder.
I don't know, I was like doing a couple of things at the same time, because I had to further my expectation of becoming a bit of a business person. I never expected to be here, honestly, but I wanted to do business. So that's how I started. Then, of course, then the university, when they started the universities, I had to give up my job at IC Drugs, plus I had to stop my pharmaceutical distribution business, because it involved a lot of traveling. So then I went to the university. As I went to the university, I really liked that freedom, and then I was like a free man. Of course, first year was I didn't never got involved in anything big. We used to do sports, or we used to do other activities, organizing of like maybe batch trips or whatever. Then, of course, I got into a bit of university politics. Parallel to that, obviously, that I was involved in a lot of student activities. Then I had to stop most of my other businesses, especially the insurance business, which brought a lot of money to me. Uh, then, of course, a different era or a period altogether when I was a student activist. Then, for about 2 years, I was heavily involved in the university politics. Why I say that university politics, because I never got involved with this national politics in terms of dealing with politicians at the national level. Then for 2 years, intense student activities. And
I think that's something not many know about you, because everyone knows you as an entrepreneur or as the chairman of Derana, but not many know that you are a you're a nationalist, and you have identified yourself as an ardent nationalist, and you have been a political activist since your university days. Like, what really have you changed, or are you still the same?
oh, very much the same. Very much the same, actually. There is no difference. There's any consistency in my life. I think that's one area that I've been very, very consistent in my thinking, and the little philosophies that I believe in, and the kind of idea that I have about the country. So when I went to the university, those were the worst of the worst days that one could go to university. It was immediately after a long insurgency, and a lot of the students have been abducted and then killed. The period was very bad. So when we went to university, I went to university in 1988, 89. So we had to face that situation in the university, because the post JVP insurgency was not a very peaceful period, because there was still the continuation of activities taking place. The so-called armed groups like was very active. Then continuation of the activities of the counter JVP groups were very much still active. So we had to face all that in the university. And the university was also largely divided into two groups. One group was supporting the then Premadasa era. That time the president was Premadasa. So one fraction of the students were supportive of that government, and the others were very unhappy of the way they were basically running the university. And by looking at that, maybe the country itself was not being peacefully run. So we were witnessing that. So we were forced into sort of take a role in changing that. So not just me, and many of my friends at different levels had to get involved. So I got attracted to this philosophy which was being discussed at the university level, of this national ideology. Because I previously, I believed in Marxism a lot, because I would call myself a Marxist before. So by when I was challenging myself, and then of course I saw this new philosophy being discussed at the university, especially it was at the science faculty. So I used to visit science faculty a lot, and I used to listen to these lectures of the famous professor, Professor Nalini Silva, who in fact I consider him to be this father of this philosophy, the modern national ideology called Chatika Chintane. So I was very much part of that.
But being a nationalist and an activist from a very young age, why did you not take up politics, but instead you went on to become an entrepreneur?
No, I never wanted to get into politics. It's two different things. I'm very much sensitive to politics, and I live that politics, to be honest. But to get into politics and do politics is a different thing, which means that you join the mainstream a political party or the new contest, you go to parliament or whatever. It's a different thing which I don't want to get involved in. I would like to sort of be a sensitive citizen to the country's national issues, country's problems, and there I want to play
A significant role.
significant role. Also, I consider it to be my duty. I think every citizen, every one of us, have that duty towards the country, because we can't just say that, that's not our area. I'll do my bit and keep my mouth shut. That's not
Yes.
what that's not what I believe in.
As the chairman of a media network, do you feel that you get media freedom in Sri Lanka?
See, it's a question that you can look at it from many different perspectives. One can say that you need more freedom than what you have now. Some would say that this is sufficient media freedom. But for me, I think media freedom itself is something that you define, uh, and how you define and how you face that. I think even if, I have seen worst periods. I have seen government trying to control the media, the organizations, and their messaging. But if you are one thing, if you're creative, the other thing, if you know what you do, we can circumvent all that, and you can keep doing what you like to do and what you want to do. For me, I haven't really felt it in that grave manner that we need more freedom. It's just that I think we have to find ways and means of being little more, maybe probably aggressive in the broadcasting our messages to the people.
Right. You led an advertising campaign for a particular political party, and that was very successful. And thereby, many have this view that Derana is biased in their approach. What are your views on this?
So, two things, Alanki. One thing, what I have tried to always tell my friends, and even in interviews, I have clearly demarcated my different lines of activities. One is personal life, my professional life. My professional life is also divided into clearly my advertising, which I love, my main business, advertising business. Then from there only we have backwardly integrated and to many companies. So this each and every company is run by a particular CEO, and each and every CEO has freedom to decide, and they are almost 100% autonomous organizations. So my role in most of the other companies, in when it comes to activities, vary. Especially in at Derana, I don't get involved in the administration of that business from business point of view. And the second thing, as I've been repeatedly telling, and in when it comes to current affairs and news, I have never got involved, and I will never get involved. So if there is any sort of influence that, or if you observe such influence, I wouldn't, I can't say that is entirely wrong. There may be some sort of influence, but it is not intentional. I don't get involved. I get involved in, yes, when I was doing the political campaign, I myself become the chief strategist most of the time. I get involved in writing, creating, production. I do that. But when it comes to Dharana, it is a different story. So people may misunderstand, or people do misunderstand at times. So I have my personal life. I have me, Dilith Jayaweera, has a personal life. In that life also, I largely divided that into two. I have a political life. That doesn't mean that I do politics, as you know, but I get involved, actively get involved in discussions, and maybe express my views the way I'm expressing now. And I try to lobby people. I try to sort of understand and distribute my views. That's a different thing what I do. Then when it comes to business, it's clearly demarcated. And I believe, as I have told many a times, it's a very independent business, the media business. And also, even if I want personally to get involved, I don't think it's going to be very successful. No media organization can be run by an individual, and then if it becomes that my view is being promoted, or coming out, I don't think the viewers are going to appreciate that. So we have to leave it open, leave it unbiased, leave at least to the extent that we can. We should get the viewers to feel that we are unbiased.
Out of everything you do, what are you most passionate about?
Advertising, my business, I mean, business wise. You're talking about business wise?
Yes.
Yes, business wise, I love advertising because that's our first business that we started,
Right.
proper business. And then that business involves a lot of opportunities for us to think differently.
And be creative.
Be creative, think differently. So every morning when you wake up and when you go to think of an advertising messaging and creative communication, it's one thing, it's very much fun because very different every day, very different. Every brief is different, every client is different, every brand is different. And then how you face that challenge is you have to think completely differently to somebody else. We have to think of something that somebody has not ever thought of before.
Right.
So then only it has that fresh messaging which will help you to engage the brand with the consumer.
Is this what inspired you to begin an advertising company when you were just a law student?
No. I mean, I must be honest. I didn't know anything about advertising. I only knew how to draw posters. So
Okay.
in the university, I was a good communicator that way because I could draw posters. I could write probably a little bit of creative writing. I used to run with two of my friends like a wall newspaper. You get wall newspapers.
Yes.
I didn't know much about advertising as a business, but when I got involved in the advertising business, I realized that it gives you immense opportunity for you to think differently. So that thinking or that practice can be applied to anything. So that's how we backwardly integrated. We started so many businesses. Then we went forward and we started other businesses like almost forward integration. So that's how we became successful because we think very differently for each and every problem that we look at differently. We give a creative solution. Every time we think of a creative solution. That's the difference.
You have a novel approach towards everything.
You are forced to, because you can't do something somebody else has done and be successful in the business of communication. You have to be fresh for you to, let's say, look at a TV commercial. Unless it has the freshness as a concept, you can't engage the consumer. So to engage the consumer, you have to think very differently.
Would you say that is the key to success, doing something differently?
Of course, that is key to success in any business, in anything.
If there's any key ingredient, in your point of view, what is the key ingredient to be successful in whatever that you do?
See, it's like this. If you ask me from a broader perspective of life,
Yes.
that's a very different thing. In broader perspective of life, I have one thing, what I believe in, you got to be yourself. So I can take many examples of people failing. Their failures are due to the fact that you sort of try to not be yourself. So the most important commodity is that you be yourself. You be genuine. You be truthful. First to yourself, then to the rest of the world. So that's in a broader perspective. But if you look at business, I think the key ingredient in that is think completely differently. Whatever you do, it can be, you may be running a hopper stall, or maybe a beetle shop, a boutique or something, or a tea boutique, or whatever you do. If you're going to copy somebody else, you're not going to create what I call is the super wealth. The super wealth is coming only when you have created something different to what others have done. So then you create wealth, disproportionate wealth. That is why sometimes people wonder as to how we have got so much money. They sort of try to credit this to that source or that this source or whatever, and to the point sometimes they say this must be some drug money or something like that. Because we make so much money by being different in this industry of advertising. I can charge anything that I want. If I have a good idea from a client, I have to go and tell a client I have a super idea. This idea has never is something that nobody has ever thought of.
Right.
So then a client has no choice but buy my idea. So I make super profit. So that super wealth or super profit comes when your proposition is brand new, completely new, innovative. But if you're doing a mundane thing, it's like the joining shop is selling the same thing that you sell, and you have no novel approach in what you do. So how will you differentiate your product from the other competitor? So for you to differentiate, you need to think differently. Actually, in our game of communication, our business is to create brands and help brands to grow. So a brand to grow, brand has to differentiate from the other brand.
Absolutely.
So how you differentiate is thinking differently, completely differently. If you can differentiate your brand from the other brand, your competitor brand, if you can widen the gap, your super profit making is that much big in our game. So that's what I say. Think differently, and then you don't have to grumble.
That was some profound advice. Moving on to our last question. You have a very special relationship with your wife, and they say behind every successful man is a woman. How true is this?
Yeah, I agree with that saying. I don't agree with many of those sayings, but this particular one is because, of course, Nilum and I met when we were in the university. So our relationship goes back to even prior to university. So she has seen the growth of me personally and the companies. And she has always given me the freedom and, of course, also the confidence to do what I was doing. And plus, every time when there were like maybe some business issues or something, probably she has contributed very wisely and contributed to the sort of ideas that whatever we needed at that time, and that had been very helpful. And of course, that she's a very simple person, and
She is.
she has quite a lot of time to sort of share. That has helped too, and her that positive nature has also helped a lot for me to be here today.
Right. Thank you so much. It was wonderful having this conversation with you. I'm sure our viewers enjoyed it as well. I will be back with another episode soon. Until then, stay safe and take care.